Welcome everybody to the inaugural numero uno, episode 1 of CHATTERBOX, a new web series brought to you by Genesis Technologies, exploring the latest in InsurTech trends. Each episode will be tackling a new subject and challenging our guests to offer their honest and forthright views on the subject. We're not looking for a corporate sales pitch, but for real, authentic opinions from the people at the heart of InsurTech. And therefore, who better to join me than Genesis' own UK MD, Andre Symes.
How's it, Ed? Nice to be back.
Nice to have you back. And today's topic is certainly a hot one right now, as we're going to discuss low code and whether it's just the next InsurTech bandwagon. So Andre, for it to be the next InsurTech bandwagon, that implies there's a current or previous bandwagon. So what do you think that is?
Yeah, no, you're right with that implication. And look, I believe that InsurTech itself as a hashtag has kind of been a bandwagon for a while. I've been quite vocal about my opinion on that, writing blogs about the InsurTech hashtag for quite some time. So yeah, I think as in totality, InsurTech at the moment is a bandwagon. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I remember giving a presentation probably about this time last year to an insurer, and we talked about InsurTech. And I think the funniest one about InsurTech is when you challenge people to say, well, what is it? And you get a lot of people get quite kind of prickly about it on Twitter, and they'll say things like, well, it's whatever you want it to be. You know, why do we have to put things in a box? Now, as you'll have seen from my intros and the fact that I do this kind of thing and that I blog, I love words. And to me, words are really, really important, and their meanings are really, really important. And I think part of the reason that ultimately InsurTech doesn't really mean anything anymore, it's lost its way, it's lost its meaning, it's just a bandwagon, is because we refuse to define it. And when a word has no meaning, it means nothing. You know, if it can mean anything, it means nothing. So I think, yeah, absolutely, I completely agree with you on that. I think it's just become a hashtag or a buzzword that someone thinks, oh, I'd really like to be part of that cool movement that's going on. That thing over there that everyone's doing, that they look like they're having loads of fun and it's a good PR exercise and it's good for investors, etc., etc. So no, I'm absolutely with you on it. But back to low code itself. You know, we talked about, is there that in danger of becoming? We said, is it in danger of becoming the next buzzword like InsurTech? So what do you think? Where do you think low code is best utilized?
Yeah, so no code I think is best utilized when it comes to product development. I think that's where it's currently being utilized the most. We also utilize it quite a bit in integration aspects too. So, but I think the impression at the moment is that no code is this new cool thing that's online. Anybody can get access to it, and then tomorrow morning they've launched the next greatest insurance company utilizing these tools. I think we've got to be realistic that is probably not going to be the case.
Yeah, I think so. And why do you think that isn't going to be the case? What do you think stops that happening?
Well, quite honestly, I just think that purely it's underwriters need to underwrite. You know, people that work for insurance companies need to actually do their day jobs. IT companies have traditionally always been the people that have built, or software vendors have been the ones that have built the product. And a lot of times, the no-code tool is just being utilized by them to still do that. I don't think that role is going to change much. And also, I believe that if we're going to create these templates online for people to be able to build tools, is that in 12 months' time, you're going to have 200 insurance companies all utilizing the same templates, selling the same products, just with different logos on them, because they've utilized the same tech to do it.
So do you think low code's currently being kind of misused or misunderstood and not leveraged in the best possible way?
I think it's being sold in the wrong way. I think it's being sold as a be all and end all, hand off all the responsibility to the client way, which I don't think is good. I don't know. What do you think about that point?
Yeah, I think I was going to talk about this one later, and I think let's bring that forward in the discussion, really, in terms of, we talked about what drives the demand for low code in insurance. There is a tremendous lot of talk about it at the moment. I'm kind of the opinion, I don't know what you think, but I think it's coming from the vendors more than the customers. And I think there's kind of two types of movement within low code, right? There's, as you say correctly, the speedier app development, being able to do things quicker, but the right people doing that. And then there's this kind of citizen development movement, where we kind of talk about, existing platforms with people changing rates in an underwriting platform themselves. And this kind of notion of that you're going to have people, underwriters sat in the office, like you say, they've got full-time day jobs, and suddenly that they're going to find loads of hours free in the day to start building their own products in systems and the like. And don't get me wrong, I've seen it myself. Some people do that. Some people, they're a very rare type, but some people do go away and they have that kind of that itch to scratch to go away and kind of build it themselves. And I've seen firsthand though, that in the bulk of cases, particularly when you're selling to people, you kind of talk to them and they say, oh, can I change the rates myself? How much of this product can I build myself, et cetera, et cetera. And the harsh reality that they come down to is then they get into their everyday lives, they go to do it, and you end up building it for them because they realize I haven't got time for this. I haven't got the inclination to learn it. Have you seen similar?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you remember, many years ago, there was an episode on Top Gear by Jeremy Clarkson when he tested an M5. And there was like 17 different settings for the gear changes and the power and whatever. And that all seems cool when you're busy shopping for a car. But ultimately, what he already wanted to do was push the M button and have the best car available. So yes, you're right. When you are selling this, there's often this romantic notion that everybody's going to be self-service and adopt all of these tools. And while some of our clients have adopted it and are doing it themselves, the majority of them are simply benefiting from the speed and of change that we can implement in their business utilizing our own tools. To kind of get to that point that you made earlier about who is driving this, I personally think a lot of it is coming from the people who back the IT companies or the IT vendors that have these tools. Because from an investment point of view, what no-code does do, it really helps speed up your customer acquisition onboarding. So you can onboard more clients quicker than someone who has to use code. So from a VC point, it's very attractive, and it starts affecting your customer acquisition costs quite a lot. What I think is quite interesting is to start unpacking what does it do to your client lifetime value though? Because if you can onboard someone very quickly with no code, you can take them off of that very quickly too. So what kind of loyalty or stickiness does it create within the client if they can do that? So the client has a massive benefit that they can change if they no longer want to be with this particular IT vendor. The question is for the IT vendor is that what additional benefit have you been offering them if your clients can move off?
And that's pretty appealing, right? Because that's one of the biggest problems you have in insurance right now is that it's really difficult to get away from a lot of the vendors. You can't, because you're stuck with them forever. The big names out there that you can't get your data out of, it's stuck in the system. So yeah, I can see how that appeals. I've got another view as well that I think, I completely agree with you in terms of, I think investors and the like, it massively appeals to them. But I kind of think a lot of it's being driven by the vendors themselves. So it's not that the customer wants necessarily to be able to do it. I can't imagine there's any CIO in the land who sat there thinking, I really wish I could build my own reports on a daily basis. But they want the data. They want to be able to access it. So I think it's a necessity on the part of the customer that they're there saying, and it's being driven by the vendors in that they're saying, I can't get the service at the speed with the efficiency and at the cost that I need. So I'd kind of rather do it myself because that's the only way I see myself being able to do it. Is that fair? Is that the kind of thing you see?
Yeah, to a degree. And you raise an interesting point that I've also tried to grapple with a little bit with this no-code when it comes to CIOs. Is that with the no-code tool, you are all of a sudden shifting the onus of the system change from IT to business. Business now make IT changes, and we all know that IT shadow is quite a big risk where we make changes to systems and IT wasn't involved there. But it also creates a little bit of internal conflict between IT and business within the larger corporates. But where does the responsibility sit? Because traditionally IT has had their hands and the control of the vendor platforms. Now it's moving to business. There's a bit of conflict there. I think that internal kind of grappling with where does the responsibility sit is also still something that a lot of companies are trying to unpack and understand.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I mean, we've kind of touched upon, I feel like we've touched upon a lot of the negatives as part of it. And I want to look at it from a positive perspective. So what solutions have you seen out there that have really impressed you in terms of, low code and what that enables you, or no code, in fact, low code, no code I'm using interchangeably in this discussion?
Yeah, look, I think obviously, but besides the tools that we've used and helped our clients get products speed to market quite quickly, in the insurance space, it's hard to ignore people like Uncork, and I mean they've done a really really good job, and they raised 20 million last year. I think more than 50 million this year again as part of their growth. So there's quite clearly a lot of drive behind that. They I think you need to look at them as some of the leaders at the moment in the insurance space at least. I've always liked a lot of the CRM type no-code tools. I think that is nice for SMEs to be able to spin up their own CRMs. There's not a lot of IP that goes into your CRM base, so it's quite easy for us to spin that stuff up. So I always look to people like Pipedrive, etc. I think they've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I've used a bit of Pipedrive. I kind of like it. I think there's a few others that jumped out to me. So I like Mendix, obviously, I think are a big name in that space. And the one that I got to look at a little bit last year that I quite liked what they were doing was what would have been called Velocity. So they were acquired by Salesforce, having become kind of one of the top apps in the App Store for them. And I really liked the stuff they were doing. Actually, a lot of the stuff you guys have been doing around low code. I don't want to blow smoke with you being a guest on the show, or co-host on this one, isn't it? Co-host on this show. Yeah, I think there's lots of good stuff that's being done in that space. And I think being able to have access to things that you can change in low code, in those kind of platforms, like you say, the lighter stuff that people are actually likely to change, i.e. I want to drag and drop, a bit of questions around or the rating or whatever it might be, to a minor point, I think is a strong way to be.
No, true. But where I see a lot of the real value. So this is more behind the scenes type of stuff. So all that we as an IT vendor try and do for our clients is to deliver more value quicker. The faster we can do things, we're still delivering quality. Obviously, you bring their costs down, and I think every IT vendor is trying to do the same thing. But where a lot of that speed change comes isn't necessarily where the clients can just do it on the front end. There's also in any sort of insurance ecosystem, there's integrations. We've partnered with a company called Flow here, which does no-code integration tools. And that has really helped us bring down the time to integrate into new ecosystem partners. So there's a lot of behind the scenes B2B type of no code that actually makes real world changes that you just never really see in the front, which I always find that the most attractive part. As being a B2B business ourselves, you kind of like the behind the scenes, the unsung hero type of
You've obviously been, if you like an underdog, you've obviously been in England a long time now, Andre, because that's our favourite over here. We love an underdog. But I'm afraid that's all we got time for on this episode. But please let us know your thoughts, people, on low code, citizen development, and no code. Do you agree with Andre? Do you agree with me? Do you have a completely different view altogether? And also, what topics would you like to see discussed on future editions of Chatterbox? Throw us some names in the comments below of people whose opinions matter most to you, and we'll look to have them on the show. And now the chatter concludes, but join us next time for more InsurTech with the gloves off.